It is October 11th, 2022. Welcome to the Beacon City School District School Board meeting. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, I'm sorry. Please stand also for a moment of silence for Austin Papo Dessard, a retired cook manager from Sargent Elementary School. Thank you. Vicki, do you mind doing roll call?
Ms. Flynn?
Excused.
Ms. Galloway?
Delayed.
Ms. Heath?
Here.
Ms. Cush?
Here.
Bang?
Excused.
Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Ms. Stadler?
Here.
Ms. Hewer?
Here. Thank you. Matt, would you mind reviewing the fire exit?
Yeah, exits are in the back of the LGI.
Open to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a public comment? Seeing none, we're going to have our workshop. Hear from our Pupil Personnel Services Department.
So, good evening. My name is Dr. Chadwell Dennis. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Personnel Services here in the Beacon City School District. So welcome board members, superintendent, students, faculty, caregivers. So today's presentation will give you some information on what the Pupil Services Department has been working on since I started here in July. So you'll notice as I go through the presentation that there'll be student artwork at the bottom right-hand corner. And this artwork is being displayed in the Pupil Services Department. So it's always a reminder as to who we're here for and who we're serving. So the mission of the Beacon City School District is we have a commitment for all students to learn in a nurturing and inclusive environment that prepares them for continuous learning, life, and work in a diverse world. Our schools foster a love of learning and a sense of community in all students as they develop their leadership, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. And so what we value here in Beacon is that diversity is our strength. The diversity of our community is a strength and should be celebrated and represented in our curriculum. That we provide an equitable education. All of our students deserve an equitable and rigorous education, regardless of race, ethnicity, class, gender identity, sexuality, or disability. And we offer a culture of care. We will ensure a culture of care through a safe and supportive environment to ensure wellness for the entire school community. So you'll also notice as we move through that these three values will be in the left-hand corner, where diversity is our strength, we provide an equitable education, and we offer a culture of care. So in the Pupil Services Department, we are committed to supporting environments where all students feel supported intellectually and academically, as well as they feel a sense of belonging in the classroom, where identity and learning is celebrated and affirmed. Our collective goal is to implement these experiences into creating programs and expanding practices to best serve our students and the Beacon community. So I just wanted to introduce a few people. So Meredith is on the left. She is a school psychologist that is on assignment, that is supporting our preschool kiddos. And then we have Alexis McCoy-Yakel. She's here with us. She is newly joined us, and she is supporting the CSE process, kindergarten through 5th. And then we have Christina Bartley, who's also here with us, and she supports 6th through 12. However, students can stay in through their the year of their 21st birthday. So here are some amazing noticings. So all three of us are new, and we're walking around the environment and learning about Beacon. And so we've spent a lot of time in the buildings over the last few months, and here are some things that we have noticed about Beacon. Beacon is relationship building. They spend time with each other. They have a passion for education. They're dedicated to individualizing services for students with disability and talk to us about that a lot, about how we can individualize even better for students. There is this consistency of services, so students who receive one level of service will also receive it in another location. They have excellent communication within the buildings and across buildings, and what we notice is that the principals will meet with each other often to talk about students. There's a dedication to serving children well and open to change, which is really nice when you're coming in and learning the processes. We've noticed that there's a high level of flexibility and an eagerness to hear. Diligence in serving children and improving their craft for the betterment of the student. There is inclusive literature in every location that we have been. There's also a commitment to having a diverse group of students present and participating in extracurricular activities, and they're solution focused. So here's a little bit of data on the Beacon City School District, specifically for students who are served under the CSE and under the Office of Civil Rights with 504s. So there's currently 2,986 students enrolled in the Beacon City School District, with 59 kiddos in preschool. And just clarification in preschool, they have a meeting before their 3rd birthday, so we have some 2-year-olds that we are also watching as well, because there's a rule called child find, and we have to keep, we have to know who the children are that may need services. And there's a piece of artwork on the bottom right-hand corner. So currently there are 516 students under Individuals with Disability Education Act. So 516 students have IEPs. Of that, 178 of those students are at the elementary level. And then there's the breakdown by building. 68 of those students are at Sargent, 20 are at South, 23 at JVF, and 67 at Glenham. And you'll see in the right-hand corner, we have 11 students who are parentally placed. So we have 2 parental placements inside our borders. We have New Covenant and Hudson Hills. Doesn't mean that there's 11 students in those that we serve. Those students could be at Lourdes or other locations as well, but there are 11 students who are parentally placed. 119 students are served through the CSC at Rombout, 167 at Beacon High School, and then there's 41 students who we serve in a variety of placements outside these 6 buildings. So you may have seen this information before on a previous presentation, but here kind of gives you an idea of where our children might be served if they're not in one of the 6 buildings. It's a pretty familiar list, as they're all very close, in general, very close to this area. So looking at Section 504 of the Rehab Act, so this is overseen by the Office of Civil Rights. So we have 114 students that currently have Section 504 plans in Beacon. 27 of those students are elementary students, and there's the breakdown as to where they're located. Pretty even. 7 students at Sargent, 6 at South, 7 at JVF, and 7 at Glenham. At Rombout, we have 23 students who are served, and then there's 65 students at Beacon High School. And again, there's some beautiful artwork done by Rose. So staffing. So this is the current staffing that we have, and I'll explain just a little bit. We have 54 special education teachers. One of those teachers is on assignment, a teacher on special assignment. Again, we have 7 school psychologists, but remember back to the beginning, Meredith. She is helping us with the preschool. We have 8 social workers. 8 social workers, 6 speech pathologists, 4 occupational therapists, 1 physical therapist, and 7 school counselors. Again, one's on assignment. But looking at the OT and PT, some of those services are under contracts. So like the physical therapist is fully under a contract, and an additional part for overflow. Those 4 occupational therapists are on salary here with us, and then we have an additional person that we use part-time. So this is from the New York State Education Department report card. And you'll notice at the top, it's the 2019-2020 school year. It's on delay about 2 years. And the state sets, there's indicators. There's a lot of indicators in special education. And the state sets targets for us. And then they let us know if we've met that target. So as you can see here, from the 1920 school year, students with disabilities and the graduation rate was set at 71% or higher, and Beacon had a graduation rate of 76.1, and so we met the target on that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The graduation rate, are you saying graduation with a, with what kind of diploma?
Yeah, so it's just graduation in general.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's everyone who exited with a credential or graduation with a Regents diploma. And in that formula, if you were to look at the Beacon High School direct data, that's a 4-year metric, where this is a 5-year metric. So, okay. So looking at suspension data, so it says 2021, but it's based on the 1920 school year. So this is a COVID number. The suspension rate the target was 2.7% or lower, and we had 0.2%. A lot of schools, students were ending the year in COVID, so this number is low. Again, we're looking at, was there a significant discrepancy by race and ethnicity in our suspension rate? And again, you're looking at, is it disproportionate in the students that are being suspended? And again, there was, we met the threshold there. So this is the one that I spend the most time looking at, the school age least restrictive environment. So this means that our kiddos are being educated as close to their general education peers. And we have to always test that data. So if you look on the left, students with 80% or more of the day in the general education program, we're looking for greater than or equal to 60%, and our percent was 50.8, so we did not meet that target. So that meant that our children are more removed from the general population than what the state is saying we need to meet. There is no state target in the middle for the 40 to 70%. The state does not set a target for that range. And then students with less than 40% of the day in the general education program, again, we did not meet that target. So we have some work to do in that area. And here's some additional data that I've been asked by you in the past. Currently, there are 77 students at the elementary level educated in their home elementary school. 92 children are being educated in a different elementary school. So that means if my home school is South Avenue, I might be receiving my education at JVF or Glenham. So 92 children are experiencing that with students with disabilities.
Can you talk a little bit about why that would be?
Sure. So we're trying to uncover that, exactly why that is. Some of it is because not all buildings could offer all programs. So if there's a specialized program in one of the buildings, then the student would go to that location. That seems to be the predominant reason. The question that we're asking is, why is that program in that building? That really is a question. And can we look at ways to have children receive their educational experience in their home building?
When you say like a specialized program, what is that?
Right, so there's ratios of programs. So it might be, let's say, for example, a 6-1-2, where no more than 6 students, 1 teacher and 2 teaching assistants for maybe children who are learning to communicate. And so because it's so highly structured in that location, you couldn't have that program necessarily in every one of the buildings. So because it's a small demographic you're surveying. So for example, that is housed at JVF. And so if I'm a Glenham student and that's the way that I need support, I would go to JVF. So we have 92 children in something like that right now. Okay, so identified areas of improvement. So this is what we're hearing people say to us. When we make our rounds, we say, what are some areas you think we need improvement? So for example, opening day, I did a presentation, I gave out white cards and said, write down where you think we need to improve. If you don't feel comfortable just telling me, write it down. So here are some things that we heard. Academic intervention services, they were looking for some sort of way of it being received equitably. A response to intervention process. Consistent process for responding to self-harm and threat. While they had a process for each building, it wasn't consistent. Professional development to empower staff to meet the behavioral and social needs of students. Transition planning, and that's for like the student who might be after the age of 12 and we're preparing them for career and college readiness. What does that transition planning look like for that student as they move on from the high school? Enhancing assistive technology, specifically around communication devices, because like I mentioned, the small ratio classes have a higher level of need for augmentative communication. Creative ways to deliver related services. The majority of our related services like speech, OT, PT are pull-out services. They leave the educational setting. Higher level of caregiver involvement, providing the least restrictive environment in the home school wherever possible. So that's where that 92, where they're not in their home school. And additional multisensory teaching approaches, which is really delivering reading resources. So this is our response so far, and I would keep in mind it's only been a couple of months. So our department is working very closely with the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction and Student Services, which is Saggy is here with us. She has been in collaboration with me regarding the AIS and the RTI process. We have put a consistent process in place now for suicide and self-harm. And there will be an additional training on Professional Development Day. Every mental health professional now is using the exact same process and procedure, and we will be looking at potentially a Board of Ed policy to look at that as well. So threat assessment, so this is where a student might be making a threat to a larger community or to themselves. Alteris, which is our consulting agency, has met with myself multiple times, with Mark Thomas, who oversees security, and all the principals. Now they have met with all the mental health providers and all the guidance counselors, and they will be meeting in the future with the security monitors, just as the overview. And then October 31st will be our first in-person training where we do like a tabletop, where we actually are talking about different scenarios that could happen with Beacon High School. Duchess Bosse's is working to establish a cooperative billing system for additional safety training, and there are 3 of them listed there. Safety care, handle with care, and therapeutic crisis. There are other schools in the area that are also using these, so we're looking to partner through Bosse's to access these services. The assistant director, who is Christina Bartley, who's here, is attending transition training through Duchess Bosse's. Putnam Northern Westchester Bosse's, there's a woman, Dr. Harriton Wilson, who has her doctorate in technology and special education. She is partnering with us to help us improve our technology for students with disabilities. The related service staff are looking at providing the services as a push-in model instead of a pull-out model. So if there are speech services and it's every day, the student won't come out, the provider will go in so that they can work in collaboration with the classroom teacher. The multisensory and diagnostic instructional techniques are being provided through PNW Bosse's, so really just improving our toolkit on ways to provide reading to diverse learners. And then there is a Learning Differences workshop for parents and caregivers. The first one will be October 24th, and the next one, there'll be one in the winter and one in the spring as well, which are not yet scheduled. And there's another piece of beautiful art that's hanging on the wall near my office. So Parent Forum, so this will be the first one that I will be leading. It is October 24th at the Beacon High School Theater from 5:30 to 6:30. It will be in person. If you use that QR code, if you were to scan that, it would take you to a caregiver involvement in the CSE process survey. So there may be some parents that aren't able to come to that time, but they can still give us feedback, and we'll make this QR code public for whoever wants to answer it, and it gives us feedback as to how we can improve our parent involvement in this process. And that is it. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you talk about the 504 versus the IEP? Like, is the 504 under your umbrella, or is that totally separate from PPS?
Right. So it's tricky. 504s are tricky because the Office of Civil Rights is over here and IDEA is over here. And we have children that do need, you could have a complaint for both bodies, like an IDEA and OCR complaint. So the data management of it comes from Frontline Direct. So I am reading every 504 that goes out of our office because obviously it's coming to you on a consent agenda. So I'm reading all of them. I have been providing technical support for how 504s are being supported, so I'm working very closely in that process. It is not under IDEA though. It is under, it's a general education under an accommodations and program modifications, not programming, where IDEA does programming. So they're different than each other, but I have read every single one at this point. Any other questions? Yeah.
Not a question, just a comment. I'm glad you're looking into the push-in model there. I'd be curious to know what the results were when you get more on that.
Yep, I'd be happy to provide that. Any other questions?
I really appreciate the breakdown
Oh,
of
sure.
information.
Yeah.
It's really helpful to see.
Yeah, and if there's something in the future that you would like, I'm happy to present that to you. This will be the first time you're seeing me present to you, so, if there's data specifically you're looking for, we can provide what you need.
I just briefly want to mention it was a little daunting this June to be completely starting over with the PPS department. Heather's done a fantastic job coming in, and I think this presentation is a good overview, like what are our strengths and then what are areas we need to focus on, and just moving forward with that. And then the addition of Christine and Alexis has been just as powerful. And I think one of the great things, you see them in the buildings constantly, like all 6 of our schools, talking with teachers, administrators, about how best to support our students. This was a change for us to have the 2 assistant directors, to have the assistant superintendent role, and to just sort of completely do it over with all new people. And it's been just really a successful start. So thanks to the team for joining us on this adventure and for being so student-focused.
And I just want to say, it's a big team. We have a lot of support people as well, and it totally takes a team. And the blessing is that totally student-focused. It really is about the kids. We're on the team of the kid, and so we're here to support them. So I'm available if you have any questions after too. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I just thought of something. Have there been any any work on terms of parents that maybe they don't quite understand, and they could do better with an advocate, or maybe additional maybe translation services or stuff like that? Have you encountered any of those situations?
So we haven't held a tremendous amount of CSE meetings yet, because that typically is in the spring where we hold the annual reviews. We have talked about the language line, where you just pick up the phone, enter a code, and then it picks the language that the student speaks in or the family speaks in. So we're exploring those things. We are also providing the option of in-person or virtual CSE meetings for what the parent wants or the caregiver wants. Sometimes we get a split. I will say that from my perspective, the caregiver involvement has increased with the virtual option because they're not leaving work. So we have many times multiple parents engaged in that CSE process from different locations, which is that's just amazing to have. Or they might have a grandparent there. They may feel they need support, and the grandparent's in Florida, and they can call in. So it's been really positive. We also have run hybrid, where we have in person, and their person who's there makes them feel safe is calling in as well, and we can see them. So it's nice. It's nice for the family.
And what about for parent advocate services?
So we work closely with Taconic Resources. If a family does ask, we do refer them to Taconic Resources. And there are a couple there because it's grant funded, so the parents can access the services. And we have had them participate. Yeah.
But only if they ask, right? Or, I mean, is there...
No, we make it available. Anybody can have that resource at any time. So there's a Welcoming Our Families guide that's pretty widely circulated, and it's all the services that are available in Dutchess County, including Taconic Resources.
And it's multilingual?
I'm not sure about that. I will say I'm not sure. Usually it's on the district to make sure that the parents are understanding. It's
Yes.
not on the advocate.
Yes.
So that's where we would have to get a translator for that meeting if it was needed, which is why a service like the language line is very helpful, because you can just pick the phone up and code it in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I look forward to hearing about how these initiatives are going, so, in the spring. I'm sorry. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual, and the board will return in about a half hour?
So moved.
Second?
Anthony, Flora, comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm in favor. What are we, 7? Passes 7-0. Thanks. There are no corrections to note on the agenda. I do not see any student or parent groups in the audience, so we're going to move on to Superintendent's Report.
All right. I just have a few things to update the board on tonight. One is we are very excited to say that we have student advisors to the board coming to the next meeting. I'm going to have to do a little furniture rearranging, perhaps purchasing, because we're going to have 4. So we have 2 juniors and 2 seniors. They were all so excited and just, just so positive and really ready to represent all the students in the district that we just thought 4 made sense. So they're all very busy people and lots of activities. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to kind of balance each other out and sort of cover for each other. So there's always at least 2 or 3 students here. Mr. Dwyer's going to do a big announcement on social media at some point later this week, probably with a picture. So I'll save the moment for them, but they will be at the next meeting. They will be doing much like a board comment or a superintendent update, they're going to be doing a student advisor to the board update. And I just, interviewing them and reading their letters, I'll share the letters with the board, was just great. And so that's going to be starting soon at the next meeting. So super excited about that. Number 2, I just want to give a huge thank you to a bunch of folks who made the last football game really run smoothly. So our director of security, Mark Thomas, all the security staff, Beacon Police Department, and our administrators and teacher chaperones. We implemented a new security procedure. We did a communication about it earlier in the week at what we're deeming large outdoor events. We are doing wanding of individuals with a metal detector wand with all folks who come in. And it's just the first time we've ever done it. And it was just really smooth, positive. Our security staff really handled it well. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. And just also to reiterate, we're putting these things in place so we can continue having these large night events. And there's a number of districts already that are moving their events to like Saturdays and doing away with evening events for some of the same security worries, and we're really committed to continuing ours. I think we were curious if it would affect turnout. It was a beautiful night in terms of weather, but we had a lot of people come, a lot of students came. And so that made us feel great. And so I just want to say thank you to all the folks who made it work so well. We do have a soccer game tomorrow. We're going to be boys soccer. We'll be implementing these same procedures. And then we have 2 events the next week, homecoming week, in which we'll do it as well. And then lastly, the strategic planning team met last week, and we broke into groups. We focused on one group, high quality curriculum, one unique opportunities, another community engagement and involvement, and another academic excellence. And we are brainstorming action steps. We have one more planning day a little bit later in October. And then I'm going to be working with the Ed Elements folks on sort of putting it together to present to the community early winter, probably right after winter break. So we're very excited about the work that's happening there. It's very positive and engaged. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a question?
Yeah.
I think that's very commendable about doing the wanding to check for heavy metal. Is there any additional expense involved in implementing this program?
Any additional what?
Expense?
We did not have more people at this game. No. So if you go to one of these events, they are highly staffed. Teacher chaperones, administrator chaperones. We do have off-duty Beacon Police Department. There's some on-duty ones that come, and we're not paying for those, but we do pay for off-duty, and then security staff. We get a lot of positive comments from visiting teams a lot, saying we've never seen so much like adult presence at a game before, because we just really have, it's really well staffed. So no, it's not actually a large, we really staff these well, so we did not have for a football game any more people. For a soccer game, we might probably have a couple more security guards to pull it off, but that's not a huge expense. And we did buy the wands this summer thinking that we might be needing to do this, and they were not very expensive either.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? Okay, board comments. Eunice?
Thank you. I'd just like to let the board know and everyone know that the Health and Wellness, the District Health and Wellness Committee is having their first meeting on October 27th at 4 o'clock. So I just wanted to let everyone know, and maybe I'll have an update sometime after that.
And are you able to make that
Yes.
meeting? Oh, great. Okay,
Yes.
awesome.
I discussed that with Dr. Chadwell. So
Perfect.
thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Anthony?
Good evening. So I did meet with Matt and Marie about the policy, the policies for committee. There was a date that I floated around, but that's not a good date. So I gotta work with Matt for a different date and float that around again. Hopefully we'll have an October policy meeting. Worst case, we'll just squeeze maybe 1 or 2 in November. I'll talk to Matt about
Okay.
that. But we do have some policies that are on queue that I think would help with meet our goals, board goals. And one of them was discussed at today's equity meeting, which is an equity policy, a diverse. So just to segue into that, the equity committee met today at the library. Very passionate discussion. I always think it's good to have people who are passionate about equity to be in the same room and exchange, in the safe space, their issues, their wants, their perspectives. And the group itself was represented different facets of the school district too. So I was actually pretty happy about that as well. So, more to come on that. Saggy did a great job running that meeting, so I do appreciate that. Other than that, on a personal note, I just came back from San Diego for vacation, and I had to hear about the Padres the whole time. So, hopefully, somebody who deserves it wins. But thank you.
I just wanted to say, if I'm the only person who can't make the policy meeting for October, just go ahead and schedule it without
I
me.
think it's both of you can't make, right? The
okay.
NISBA thing is that night.
Which date did you?
It was that Monday.
17th.
Yeah. I don't have the calendar.
I can probably make it, because I think by 7 it's probably done.
It starts at 4, right?
Yeah.
It'll probably be done by
Yeah.
7.
Oh, okay.
It's like 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours is enough time.
So should we try to keep it going?
Yeah, Matt, you want to still go with that Monday?
I'm fine with that Monday. That's
That's next Monday.
That's
Yeah.
next week. Yeah.
so we just need to pull those policies together. But Heather, you have the one ready to go, and so we could get policies out to the committee tomorrow sometime.
Could we look at the order of the
Yeah.
agenda? Is that on your list?
It's
Yeah.
on my list. Yeah,
Okay.
based on our retreat.
Because I'd like to change it for the student school board members
Yeah.
before they start.
The advisors to
Or
the school board.
Advisors, sorry, not members.
Yeah. So when Matt and I discussed about the policies, there are some that the district will weigh in on and edit and provide their perspective beyond what NISBA is suggesting, because it affects them, and then there are policies that they're board policies. So what I'll do is I will I guess make some suggested changes for discussion, and then circulate that to the policy committee.
Okay, great, thank you.
Right.
Anthony White,
No comments.
Craig,
So we had a tour of several of our buildings recently, and I assume another tour to catch the rest of them will be scheduled. This is, I think, a very good thing to do, probably on an annual basis, or at least when we have new board members. And I was pleased to see and to meet our new Director of Facilities. So we're making progress in that area. I was also very pleased to see that some of the tree work along Sargent Avenue is being done this week with some impressive-looking equipment and very tall cranes and so on, including taking down a tree that looks like it's about ready to go over and cross the road. I hope that we continue to make progress on that before the next storm comes up and gives us a problem. We have a meeting that's been scheduled for the Audit and Finance Committee, but we probably have to move that to accommodate the partner from our external auditor. So I assume that we have an update on that, looking at October 20th still. And we just need to determine the time and whether or not we do facilities before or after.
We were planning on doing audit finance at 6, doing
6?
6 to 7:30, and then doing a quick facilities meeting immediately following. It'll be at central office and conference room.
That work?
Works for me.
Kristen's not here, but
I don't know if 6 is going to be
It works.
a hardship for her, but we can ask her.
okay, that's it.
Alina, did I skip you? Do you have board comments?
No and no.
No and no. Yes and no. Okay, Flora. Thank you.
So we had our first public relations, I have such a hard time saying that phrase, Public Relations Advocacy and Legislative Committee meeting. And so we just sort of talked a little bit about our goals for the year, and specifically around advocacy. The theme sort of came up about advocating for all of these pieces that really are dependent on budget. And the first thing that we're going to focus on this year is universal pre-K. So we're going to sort of work on, what is the ask? What are the, what is the supporting information around the ask? And how do we sort of target that message and to whom? So that was, I would say that was sort of the bulk of what we really focused on. So look for a statement on that coming soon to a board meeting near you. And I think that's all for today.
Thank you.
I have a question. There was emails from some of our music and arts teachers about some advocacy on an issue coming before NISBA.
Yeah, I emailed you back. You might not have seen it, but yeah, it's Meredith will vote to support that. I mean, I think that was understood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
The arts.
The BOCES?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
I didn't quite understand if that was going to be a separate board vote, like a resolution coming. They just meant the NISBA resolution?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
As far as I
think we
could
had
tell,
Yeah, I'll look into that a little bit
I
more.
read it a couple of times, and that's what I thought.
Okay.
That she was saying. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and I just wanted to say that I felt like our most recent strategic planning day was really successful. I'm really excited about that work and excited to get it out to the community once we've finalized everything. I feel like the consulting agency has been really productive and kept us moving forward. And it was a very positive interaction with everyone that I worked with. There is a doodle poll in your inbox. If you haven't answered, please do, about this mini retreat that we talked about at our last retreat, to just finalize what kind of data we want to see around students and how we want our financial information presented to us. I'm really excited about the student school board representatives. I want to thank Sargent Elementary School for my card. Does everyone want to hold up their beautiful card? It really is the most touching board appreciation. Thank you. I have received in my 7
Thank
years
you.
as a board member.
Very awesome.
Thank you, Sargent.
Yeah, this makes the work worth it. I mean,
Yes, actually, it totally does.
yes. No, thank you very much.
And Sagrario sent me notes from the last curriculum committee. I'm just going to give very broad strokes. They're talking about training opportunities and how to do that. setting up the calendar for professional development. There is some iReady training to be done. Evaluations, APPR is back. Evaluations begin in October. And yeah, that's about it. I will be attending the next meeting, which is the 26th? Full committee. Oh, is November. Okay, because I have October 26th on my calendar. You are correct. I am correct. Okay. And it's at the district office? Oh, here. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, that's it from me. So new business. First on the new business agenda is the district-wide safety plan that needs to be approved. Are there any questions about the plan before we vote to approve it?
Just, I mean, if generally someone can describe the changes, I mean, that would.
There really
Minor.
aren't substantive changes in
Yeah.
this one. We put it out, on the website this summer and did the kind of like the community input part, but it doesn't have major changes. We work really closely with Alteris on this process. In my time here, their involvement and Mark's involvement is just, we've really tightened this work up quite a bit in a good way. So, yep.
Great.
That's all.
Was there any substantial comments or?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the district-wide safety plan for 2022-2023?
Anthony, so moved.
Second.
Second by Flora. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor. Passes 7-0. Next on the agenda is to discuss communication to the public regarding holiday name change. I just emailed the board the language that we talked about in our PR committee meeting. I will read it aloud. It's very short. I can find it. Dear Beacon community, the Beacon City School District Board of Education would like to make you aware that we will be discussing changing the name of Columbus Day at the December 12th school board meeting, 7 p.m. at the high school. We welcome your input either through email, cite our email address, or through public comment before or on December 12th. Public comment is always first on the agenda, so please arrive promptly at 7 p.m. if you wish to make a public comment. Comments are limited to 4 minutes per person. For more on our public comment policy and a link to our policy, sincerely, the Beacon City School District Board of Education. And I was assuming that we would email this out, Matt would email this out to our families.
Are we giving them a certain time frame?
So the next, 3 meetings before December 12th would be the last meeting to discuss it, and at that point, we would discuss it.
That night, the same night?
Or we can close it there and we can discuss it at the first meeting in January. I'm fine with that, too, if everyone else is.
Yeah.
If we want to just absorb what everyone has said.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that
I have no comments on the letter.
Okay. You prefer that we push the discussion to the January meeting?
We had to have time to synthesize what's being said.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right. Motion to send a letter out.
I
Oh, you don't
think we
even?
can just go with consensus
Okay.
for this one.
All right.
But, great. Okay, so I'm just going to tidy this up and I'll send it over to Vicki. Thank you. Okay, so last is the consent agenda. I have the old language up here, I think, so I'm just going to read that. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Are there any items that any board members would like to have pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, can I have a motion to approve 11.01 through 16.07?
So moved.
Second.
Anthony and Eunice. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor, passes 7-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm also in favor, passes 7-0. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.